Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Kassandra and I'm going to take you through this intermediate flexibility flow. So this is really like a full body yummy stretch to help you feel really good. And I'm not using any props throughout this class. However, for a few of the poses, if you'd like, you can have a block close by to help make some of the poses a little bit more accessible. So just a really good practice that's going to help you get into your hamstrings, your hips, as well as through your shoulders and upper back. So we're going to begin in turtle pose, which is very similar to a butterfly fold, but the legs are opened a little wider. This is Cleo. So I'm gonna turn so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So normally Baddha Konasana and butterfly, we have our heels pretty close in towards us. For turtle, you're going to walk the feet out a little more into this diamond shape so that your knees are bent a little bit more than a 90-degree angle. And then we're gonna fold forward from here, and depending on your range of motion, you can always just prop yourself up, use the hands on the ground, or if you're able and want to go deeper into the pose, you can reach your arms underneath you, and I like to have my palms facing up towards the sky, so I'm not pushing, not pulling, and just letting gravity pull you into the forward fold. So take the time to just find the proper variation of this pose that lets you feel a nice stretch through the outer hip and maybe at the back of the legs. You might be feeling it along the spine as well. But we don't want it to be so intense that it's hard to relax or hard to breathe deeply. This is a really great pose to just assess where your body is right now and how you're feeling. What needs a little bit more attention. And we'll just take about 5 more breaths right here in the pose, in whichever variation you're doing. See if you can soften between your shoulder blades a little more. And we'll very slowly start to ease out of the fold. So you can use arm strength to do this. If you were threaded through like I am, just start walking your hands back. So you're just lifting your chest and your shoulders up, and just take a seat so you can cross your legs. We're just going to do a seated version of cat and cow. So holding onto your knees from here, as you inhale, you're going to lift the heart up and really try to squeeze your shoulder blades behind you. And as you exhale, reverse this motion, chin to chest, round in. So warming up into the spine, inhale to lift, and exhale to contract. 2 more. And coming all the way back up, go ahead and bring your feet flat to the floor with your knees bent in front of you. We'll do seated pigeon pose. So you can prop yourself up with your hands behind you, and depending on your flexibility, you can straighten your legs a little more so that you can cross your right ankle over the top of your left knee, and then bend your left knee as much as you'd like. So the closer you have your chest towards that shin, the deeper you'll feel this through the outer hip and into your glute. And I like to just rock a little bit side to side here. Try not to round and slouch down too much. We're really trying to lift up through the chest. I'm pushing my hands into the floor to get a little bit more length along the spine. And we can release from this pose. Both feet come flat to the floor again. Plant your palms down with your fingertips pointing towards your heels. Reverse tabletop, really opening and stretching through the front and the top of the shoulders, squeezing into your glutes as you lift your seat up. You don't have to drop your head here. You can keep the chin slightly tucked. And let's release. Seated pigeon pose on the other side. So you can bring your left ankle over the top of your right knee and just choose how deep you'd like to go into the stretch by walking your right foot in and maybe rocking a little side to side. Super normal if one side feels a little bit stiffer than the other. Press your shoulders down and away from your ears. And let's release. We'll find reverse tabletop again. So feet flat, hip width distance apart, turn so you have your fingertips pointing forward, and go ahead and lift on up. And depending on the range of motion you have at your shoulders, this might not feel like much, or if you're like me, this can be a really intense stretch. Push into your heels. And let's release. Cross at the ankles, downward facing dog. Bring your hands shoulder width distance apart and just step the feet back, hip width distance apart. Lengthening out from here. Bend your knees as much as you need to as you try to curl your tailbone up towards the sky and reach your chest towards your thighs. Let's go ahead and reach the right leg up. Keep it straight and square just for a breath. See if you can really extend through those toes. And then go ahead and bend your right knee and open up your hip while still pushing your right shoulder down. Try to really isolate through that right leg. And we're gonna find our low lunge on vinyasa. So right foot steps between the hands to the top of the mat. Back knee comes down. So I have my right knee over my ankle. I'm gonna lift up and really engaging through the core here. As you lift your arms, let's find a little cactus shape, little back bend here. As you bend your elbows, squeeze your shoulder blades behind you and open up through your chest. And we're pressing the hips forward and down, but not so much so that it feels like pinching in our lower backs. And follow this through by interlacing your hands behind your lower back, lifting up a little more. You need a little balance here. We're gonna curl the back toes under, lift the back knee off the mat, and dive forward and down. So in your high lunge, we're not here forever. Stay low towards the mat. You're just gonna bring your hands to the floor and straighten that right leg in this wider variation of pyramid pose. Relax your head and your neck. Totally normal if your left heel is hovering off the mat. Just try to keep pushing into it so you're really stretching through that calf and into your ankle. We're gonna come back into our three-legged dog, lifting that right leg up, and just see if you have a little bit more range of motion the second time around. Start straight, and then go ahead and bend your right knee, open up that leg. And this time, let's come into our pigeon pose. So you're gonna bring your right knee behind your right wrist. You might need to shift that back leg a little bit. Notice if you're leaning on one side more than the other. And before we fold, see if you can just walk your hands back and get a little back bend here, opening through your chest. Staying grounded through your hips. And now lift out of your lower back as you start to fold all the way down. A good 5 to 8 deep breaths here. And you really don't need to be folding all the way down towards the mat. You can stay up on your palms or on your forearms. This is where having a block can be nice as well if you wanted to put it under your hips or your chest or your arms. As much as possible, try to relax your shoulders. Notice which muscles in your body are potentially trying to overcompensate and tense up. Can you relax even through your quads, into your glutes, even relaxing your belly? One more big deep breath here. And instead of going to downward dog, we're actually just going to transition to a tabletop pose and take a few hip circles before we do this sequence on the other side. I'm not doing any vinyasas in this class, keeping it nice and stretchy. So stepping back in tabletop, you're just going to trace circles with your hips. We'll do 2 in each direction, just to release that pigeon pose. And you can circle the other way. Try to push into your fingertips and knuckles so there's not too much weight directly on your wrists. And when you're ready, we'll find our downward dog so we can repeat this over on the second side. Lifting your hips up and back, stretching it all out. And let your head be heavy. No tension in your neck or in your jaw. This time, left leg stretches up to the sky. Keep it straight and squared. Notice where that range of motion ends. And then you can bend your left knee and open up your hips, squeezing into the glute to lift that knee up even higher. Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Left foot to the top of the mat. Back knee comes down. Align your knee over the top of your ankle and really pull up. So I'm lengthening my tailbone down. I'm drawing my lower belly in. And I'm using this to find a little bit more length along the spine, then adding a little back bend, cactus shape with your arms. You want to be able to maintain a slow, steady breath rhythm here. Still trying to press the hips forward and down. And go ahead and interlace your hands behind your lower back. Bring the other thumb on top. So clasping the other way, and we're gonna dive forward in our high lunge. So back toes curl under, lift the right knee off the floor, and go ahead and lean forward. Getting deeper into our shoulders here. And then into our hamstrings with our pyramid pose, hands to the floor. Straighten your left leg as you shift your hips back and try to push back into that right heel. Relax your head and your chest. And we're coming back into our 3-legged dog. So bend into your front knee, plant your palms, left leg rises. Go straight first, see if there's a little bit more range. And then go ahead and bend the knee, open up the hip, setting ourselves up for a pigeon pose on the second side. Left knee to your left wrist. And it's totally fine. So I have my shin kind of parallel to the top of the mat. You might have your heel in a little bit closer, and that's perfectly fine as well. So this really just depends on your hips and the range of motion that feels the best in your body. What I really want you to focus on is that you're not totally leaning on this left hip, still put some weight over on the right. Little back bend first, walking your hands back, lifting up through your chest, rolling your shoulders back. And then we dive forward and down to whatever level you would like. Here for about 5 to 8 breaths, and we're trying to make this fairly passive, more like a yin yoga pose, meaning I'm not really engaging my muscles here. I'm letting myself relax in the pose. I'm letting gravity do most of the work for me. But this is only possible if you haven't gone too far and too deep into the stretch. So if you have a hard time letting go here, it usually means you need to back off just a little. 2 more deep breaths here. Relax your arms and your chest. And same thing, we're coming back to tabletop pose. Just walking your hands back, take your time. And you can just take those same hip circles, so 2 in each direction, making them as little or as big as feels comfortable to you. And let's go ahead and lower all the way down onto our backs. And you can just pull your knees in towards your belly, rocking a little side to side. And before we come to Shavasana, we'll just take a reclined twist. So keep your right knee where it is and just straighten your left leg to the mat. And then you're going to cross that right thigh over your body towards the left and maybe reach your right arm out to the side. Try to keep your right shoulder blade anchored to the floor. So we're trying to move our right hip away from the right shoulder, both being pulled in opposite directions to really stretch out our backs. Coming back through to center, we'll do the same thing to the other side. So this time, right leg extends out, pull your left knee in towards your chest, and you're going to twist this over towards the right. So I'm trying to stack and align my left hip over my right one. Left arm reaches out to the side, pushing the left shoulder blade into the floor. And same thing here, left shoulder and left hip are moving away from one another. And one more big breath. And coming back through to center into Shavasana, your final resting pose. Take up space with your arms and your legs. Closing your eyes and finding some stillness just for a few minutes here to really process and integrate the work that you've done. Giving yourself time to pause and to simply observe. awaken with a little bit of movement and some deeper breathing. You can stretch your arms up overhead, really stretch out from your fingers down to your toes. And we'll turn to one side. We're just coming up to take a seat. You can sit in any way that is comfortable here. Just closing our practice together. Hands joining at the front of the heart. Let's close with the chant of Om one time. Inhaling to chant, breathe in. Thank you so very much for doing this flexibility yoga flow with me. I hope it helped you feel really good in your body. Leave me a comment, let me know what you thought of this sequence, and please do subscribe to help support free yoga on the internet. Thank you all so much, and I'll practice again with you very soon.